Hey there folks, how you doing? So yes, I want to do a wee bit of introduction first. You know, I'm feeling a little bit depressed at the moment, and I just started recording this video. Then somebody came up the stairs, and I stopped, and I've restarted it, and I watched what I've just done. So I'm going to explain the thought process. I watched it back, and I was talking about me being depressed. And part of this video, what I want to talk about is how we use language, and we use certain words and we use them over and over and over again, and they kind of lose their meaning, or maybe we didn't even know the meaning of the words to begin with. But another word I'm going to talk about later on is environmentalist and environmentalism. But yeah, so depression, you know, it's a word that we use to associate with a whole gamut of feelings and emotions. Clinical depression, you know, where people are physically ill, and then depression, where people I'm just a wee bit depressed. Now I myself am feeling a bit depressed. I'm feeling quite sad, I'm feeling despondent, I'm questioning my life as always. Where am I going, what am I doing? And the reasons I've got that feeling at the moment, as I say, you know, I lost my job last week, and I kind of knew it was coming. The guy was, well, he would say I was unreliable, but you know, I'm respond and say that he was equally unreliable, and he never paid me on time, and we started with a good relationship, and then it disintegrated very quickly. And so here I am, and I'm left with no money, and of course money it causes so much problems and so much stresses for us. And I believe that a lot of how we experience a lot of illnesses, physical, psychological, whatever, are actually various levels of responses. Whether it's a direct response like cancer through toxins in the environment, and toxins in the air, and toxins in the water, and various other pollutants, that sort of response, or a psychological response to the emotional well-being, the psychological well-being of as individuals. So life is difficult, as we all are, but as I've pointed out, it doesn't lessen my feelings. I'm white, I'm privileged, I'm living in a studio flat in North London. I'm white and privileged, and we need to remember those things. So what I want to talk about is the responses to the murder of Joe Cox. I also want to talk about Orlando, and I want to talk about news as a fabricated theatre event, and I want to talk about fascism and the rise of right-wing, extreme right-wing views and policies all across Europe and here in the UK. And you know, everything that happens now is a false flag, isn't it? Everything. Now, we're right to question the validity of our news. It's entertainment at the end of the day. It has the same sort of budgets as TV programmes. It's a slick, polished, produced product. So you're right to question the validity, and more journalists should be questioning the validity of news events as real events. And so we're talking about Joe Cox, and of course people are saying it's a false flag to strengthen and bolster the Remain campaign. Which, I don't know, it might be. But the fact is, what we are being told is that a politician, who some of us may have or may not had knowledge of prior to her tragic murder, but she was a humanitarian, she was a human rights activist. She spoke out she spoke out against Israel. She spoke up to protect refugees. And I'm sorry, anybody in them, by my definitions, anyone that speaks out against Israel is doing something that is honourable. And us as humans and human beings caught up in our lives, we all do things. A guy that I really admire, Donna, he says that not how many of us would be prepared to have our lives totally scrutinised and put out in the public domain. How many of us wouldn't be ashamed and a wee bit embarrassed by some things? I know I would. Many things. So she might have stuff in her history that's not. We all do. But the fact of the matter is that some of the responses to her murder are quite shocking. And what really shocks me is I follow a few individuals on Facebook, and there's people out there that are supposed to be, well, they're obviously promoting themselves as anti-establishment, and they maybe they may speak out vocally about such things as the historical Westminster paedophile cases, and they might be doing a lot of valuable work there. But they seem to have very questionable views about how the Remain, Leave, the referendum. And what we need to understand is the person that murdered Joe Cox, if we're going to take it as a valid event, the person that murdered Joe Cox was associated with all manner of neo-Nazi groups, and this sort of fascism is on the rise again. And fascism is it's a result of the capitalist world that we live in. It is that it's in a sense it's homelessness, or it's a direct result of capitalism. It's not so, we like to think of things as weird aberrations, and it makes it understandable. Like even the death of someone like Joe Cox, it's a shock, it's frightened, and the news response to it is it's a weird aberration. But this sort of fascism is more and more on the rise, and we find it in society when the social-political climate is not favourable, and inequality is on the rise, and there's all manner of social pressures. We also find it as a direct result of when socialist opinions and socialist beliefs start to arise, which we all know is happening now. So fascism has been creeping under the surface, but it's very much bubbling to the mainstream. But we mustn't think of people like Donald Trump as some sort of weird aberration. He's a direct response. He's there because people want him to be, in a sense. So, yeah. So we'll leave it there, and I'll get right back to you.